A cotton t-shirt that retails for $85 costs between $5 and $8 to manufacture. That figure includes labor, fabric, cutting, sewing, finishing, and packaging. The factory in Bangladesh or Vietnam or Cambodia receives somewhere in that range per unit. The brand collects the rest. Between the factory gate and your shopping bag, that gap is somewhere between $77 and $80 per shirt. You own one of these shirts. Probably several. The question is not whether you paid above production cost. Every product carries a markup. The question is, what made the markup feel justified? What you were reading when you decided $85 was right. Whether any of it had anything to do with the shirt. You have been in this store. Warm lighting, space between the garments. You pulled one off and felt the fabric before looking at the price. It had weight. The collar was thick between your fingers. The hang tag was heavy cardstock, embossed logo, clean sans serif. The price was high, but not unreasonable. You had decided it felt like quality before the number landed. Or you saw it online. Minimal interior, white walls, one plant. The description said premium cotton and mentioned craft. You added it to cart. In both cases, you were reading signals. Fabric weight, collar thickness, the hang tag, the photography, the description. You processed them simultaneously, and they pointed one way: quality. None of those signals are regulated, and the one that is regulated, the label sewn into the garment, is being used in a way the law never intended. The label told you what fiber, not which version. The difference between those two things is the entire mechanism. If you enjoy these videos, support the channel by subscribing and liking. Thank you. Cotton is not one material. Long staple varieties, Egyptian, Pima, produce a smoother, stronger thread because the individual fibers are longer, which means fewer fiber ends per inch, which means a softer surface and a fabric that resists pilling over time. Short staple cotton, sourced from commodity suppliers, produces a coarser thread with more surface fiber ends. It pills faster. It does not last as long. The difference in production costs between a long staple shirt and a short staple one might be $2 to $3 per unit at the sourcing stage. That $2 to $3 difference can justify a $20 retail gap, or it can be absorbed as margin. Both happen, and from the label alone, you cannot tell which one you are looking at. Then there is the weight of the fabric itself, measured in grams per square meter, GSM. This is a number the factory knows before the garment is produced. It appears on every order sheet. It almost never appears on a consumer label. A shirt at 150 grams per square meter is lightweight and may be see-through under strong light. At 180 to 200, it has body and drape. At 220 and above, it holds its shape through repeated washing and resists the gradual thinning that lighter fabrics develop after 6 months of regular use. The brand knows what they ordered. The consumer is not told. After GSM, stitches. Standard production runs at 8 to 10 stitches per inch along a seam. Above 12 is a quality indicator. The seam holds better, resists unraveling longer. You can count this in a store. It takes 30 seconds. Most people do not do it, but you can. Construction method matters too. Single needle stitching is faster and cheaper. Double needle produces a flat, reinforced seam that lies against the skin without a raised ridge and holds under stress. Turn a garment inside out. If the seams are flat and consistent, you are looking at double needle work. If they are raised with a single thread line, you are not. This is not subjective. It is visible. It is also a decision made at the pattern stage, before a single unit is cut. It adds time and cost. Brands that skip it know they are skipping it. Hardware is the last thing, and it is the easiest to check. A YKK zipper has the brand name stamped directly on the pull. It is a small mark. Cheap plastic zippers omitted entirely. You can feel the difference in the first pull. The weight, the smoothness, the resistance. Brands that pay for YKK have generally made that choice across their supply chain. It is not a guarantee. It is a data point. These are what a garment actually costs to produce well. Fiber type, GSM, stitch density, construction method, hardware. The problem is that brands have learned exactly which of these signals to replicate cheaply, and which to leave out of the label entirely. Think about a pressed $12 t-shirt on a model with the right proportions, shot in a minimal interior. White walls, natural light coming from one direction, a coffee cup just inside the frame. The shirt reads premium. Photograph the same shirt on a wire rack under overhead fluorescence, and it reads like what it costs. The photography budget for a mid-market brand's seasonal campaign can equal or exceed the production budget for the garment itself. That money does not tell you anything about the shirt. It tells you about the world the shirt lives in. The viewer absorbs the world and assigns it to the product. This is not an accident. It is a line item. Then there is the language. Premium cotton. Luxury blend. Performance fabric. None of these terms have a legal definition under the FTC's Textile Fiber Products Identification Act. The Act requires that labels accurately list fiber content, generic name of each fiber, percentage by weight, in descending order. It does not regulate what a brand can call that fiber on its website, its hang tag, or anywhere in its marketing copy. A shirt made from 150 GSM short staple cotton, sourced from a commodity supplier, can legally describe itself as premium cotton. The claim is technically accurate. The shirt contains cotton. The implication is manufactured. The word premium has no legal definition. It means nothing in law and consistently signals quality to consumers. Brands know this. The word is chosen deliberately. The collar in your fingers at the rack. That moment is engineered. A garment pattern specifies fabric weight for every component separately. A collar can be cut at 200 grams per square meter with added interfacing, while the body of the shirt is cut at 150. The first touch lands premium. The fabric you wear against your skin for 8 hours is not the fabric you evaluated. This is not a production accident. It is a deliberate specification written into the pattern before the garment goes to the factory. The packaging signals the same nothing. A hang tag printed on 400 grams per square meter cardstock with gold foil embossing costs more to produce than the improvement in fabric quality it implies. Tissue paper inside a shipping box. A ribbon pull on a garment bag. These are retail costs the consumer pays for. They add nothing to the construction of the garment. They are part of the price, built to feel like evidence of what the rest of the price bought. There is also fit. Slim-cut, structured garments hide the drape problems that expose cheap fabric and looser silhouettes. When fabric is too light, it hangs poorly and clings in ways that reveal its weight. A slim cut under tension does not drape. It stretches. The problem disappears. Online, you see a silhouette. A well-fitted $15 garment on a well-lit model photographs the same as a well-fitted $60 garment. The difference lives in the hand, and you cannot put your hand on it before you buy. The was $120, now $72 label deserves its own attention. Research tracking 25 major retailers found that 21 of them advertised sale prices more than half the time. Gap, Old Navy, and JCPenney were among the most consistent. That markdown is not an event. It is the pricing model. The intended selling price is $72. The $120 figure is a reference number, engineered to make $72 feel like a rational decision. You saw 40% off. You calculated you were receiving a $120 shirt for $72. The shirt was designed to be sold at $72. The discount was built into the system before the garment was tagged. And then there is the innovation framing. Moisture-wicking performance fabric is frequently a blend running 60 to 70% polyester. Polyester costs less to source than cotton. It is also less breathable and less comfortable against skin for most people in most conditions. The label lists the fiber content accurately, in order, by percentage. That is the law. What the label does not say is that polyester costs the brand less than cotton would. Performance fabric is the frame. The cost reduction is the decision. All of these work independently. But they are most effective together, because the shopper who questions the photography does not usually also question the label, and the shopper who reads the label does not usually count the stitches. Each layer of the system covers for the layer beneath it. The photography draws you in before you think to look at the seam. The label reassures you before you think to ask about GSM. The FTC's Textile Fiber Products Identification Act does not require brands to disclose GSM. It does not regulate the use of premium, luxury, or performance as descriptors anywhere on a product or in its marketing. A brand can label a shirt 100% cotton, accurate, and market it as premium cotton, also technically legal, while selling 150 grams per square meter short staple fabric at a price that historically corresponded to 200 grams per square meter long staple. The label told you the truth. The label did not tell you everything. The gap between those two things is where the margin lives. The brand is under no legal obligation to disclose what it chose not to include, and no obligation to correct the inference that the label's silence invites. You read 100% cotton. You made a reasonable inference about what that means at $85. The inference was the product. In a 2018 investigation by The Guardian into fast fashion supply chains, a quality control consultant who had worked with multiple mid-market brands stated that brands know exactly what GSM they're ordering and exactly what the consumer thinks they're getting. The GSM is on the factory order sheet. It is a procurement decision made months before the garment reaches the floor. It is never on the label. In 2013, the Rana Plaza factory in Bangladesh collapsed. 1,134 garment workers died. The factory produced clothing for more than 24 international brands. The garments retailed in Europe and North America at prices 10 to 15 times what the workers were paid per unit produced. The investigators who entered the building after the collapse found labels from brands whose product descriptions used words like crafted and quality. Those words were on the hang tags. The building was condemned the day before it fell, and the workers were told to go in anyway. The gap between production cost and retail price did not close after Rana Plaza. The supply chains did not change in any structural way. The marketing language that justifies that gap did not change either. The words premium, quality, and crafted continued to appear in the same product descriptions, applied to garments produced in the same conditions. There is one number that would tell you more about a garment than any word on the label. It almost never appears. That number is GSM. A 150 GSM t-shirt and a 200 GSM t-shirt can both be labeled 100% cotton. Both can retail at $75. The 150 GSM shirt will pill faster, fade faster, and lose its shape sooner. The production cost of the 150 GSM fabric is lower. The retail price is the same, and in practice, this means the consumer is comparing one brand's marketing language against another brand's marketing language, with no independent standard available to measure either claim. Some brands now voluntarily publish GSM in their product descriptions. This is not required by law. It is a choice. Brands that do not publish GSM on mid to premium priced garments have made a decision not to. The information exists. It is on the factory order sheet, specified before production begins. The decision not to pass it to the consumer is a procurement and marketing decision, not an oversight. A brand that knows its fabric weight and chooses not to disclose it has made a calculation about what that number would do to the sale. In 2019, the UK's Advertising Standards Authority upheld complaints against a retailer that had advertised clothing as premium quality, when independent testing found the fabric weight and construction were consistent with mass market production standards. The retailer was required to withdraw the advertising. The retailer withdrew the ad. The garment remained on sale at the same price. If the signals are manufactured, you need different signals. Here is what actually tells you what a garment is worth before you buy it. Check the fiber content label, but check the order, not just the content. The FTC requires fibers to be listed in descending order by weight percentage. If polyester appears before cotton, polyester is the majority fiber, regardless of how the marketing describes the blend. A shirt called a cotton poly blend with performance properties that lists polyester first on the label is more than 50% polyester. The description is framing. The label order is law. While you are inside the garment looking at the label, look at the seam. Run your finger along it. Count the stitches per inch. Below 10 is standard production. Above 12 is a quality indicator. A flat seam lying smooth against the fabric is double needle construction. A raised seam with a single thread line is not. This takes 30 seconds and tells you more than anything on the hang tag. The label brought you inside the garment. The seam is what you actually came to see. Now collapse the collar and release it. A well-constructed collar with proper interfacing springs back immediately. A cheaply interfaced collar stays folded or recovers slowly. Then hold the body of the shirt separately, away from the collar, and feel its weight in isolation. If the body feels significantly lighter than the collar, the garment pattern was specified that way. You found it. If there is a zipper, check the pull. YKK is stamped directly on it. It is a small mark and easy to miss, but it is there if it is a YKK. The absence of any mark is also a data point, not a verdict, but something to factor in alongside everything else you have already checked. On price. If an item has been marked down every time you have looked at it over several weeks, that markdown is the price. The number above it is a reference figure, and you should treat it as one. People consistently make the calculation that they are receiving something worth the higher number, at the lower number, and the retailers in that study knew that. The shirt was designed to be sold at the lower number. The question is whether that price reflects what the garment actually is, not whether the reference number made it feel like a win. And if a brand does not publish GSM for mid to premium priced items, ask. A brand that knows what it is selling can answer that question. A brand that responds with language about quality and craftsmanship without providing the number has made a decision about what information to share with the people buying its products. That decision is itself a data point. You were right that something was off. Now you know what it was.